What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy PorterRock77 back with another video. Thank you for stopping by. It's been a while since my last video. Been enjoying the start of the summer a little bit, and also been working longer hours and stuff. But want to kick back these videos once again, and then stay tuned for my podcast. I'm on the drawing board, trying to design it nice, trying to put out good content, and do some live podcasts and all. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be called 60 Frames No Lag podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. Going to talk about some good topics and stuff. But today I want to talk about the two Neos. So that's the title, The Tale of Two Neos. So apparently there's a thread in NeoGAF talking about that Sony actually designed two Neo hardware systems. The first one, we'll call it Neo version 1, which is the one we're familiar with, the 4.2 teraflop console with Jaguar core, the ACPU Jaguar core that's upgraded. Everything's clocked higher and stuff, more powerful. And then there's version B, which is the 5.5 teraflop one, which uses a different CPU. And the GPU is 2 times more powerful, and they all run at a higher frequency. So they're much hotter. And apparently, the 5.5 teraflop one, the power supply is actually external to the console. It's no longer internal like all PlayStation consoles before it. It's external. So you'll see a power brick due to the heating of the console. So that's where we're at right now with these rumors. So now, how do I feel about these rumors? I think it is plausible. I think it is possible that Sony designed two separate consoles because they've done that before. What they've done it before is actually with the PlayStation 4. If you go on YouTube, right, go to the search, you look for Mark Cerny, Road to PlayStation 4. He had like a little keynote speech addressing an audience. I don't know who the audience was made up of, but he addressed the audience that he was hired to be an advisor of some sort because Sony was trying to figure out the validity of the x86 architecture as a console vice the Power PC. So he did his research and he concluded that yes, consoles can go x86. So then with that, Sony designed two versions of PlayStation 4, both with the same CPU and GPU, but the main difference was it was about the RAM, the RAM memory. The first PlayStation went with a similar architecture that the Xbox One has now, which is main RAM memory with, in Sony's case, EDRAM, while Xbox One went with ESRAM. ESRAM, EDRAM is the same thing. Just a quick class on that. It's just all comes down to size and how much memory you want. So let's say if you want 128 megabytes of either EDRAM or ESRAM. The ESRAM would be bigger. The EDRAM will be smaller because it's double density. But it's more expensive than the ESRAM. So again, if you're worried about size, you will go EDRAM because it takes a smaller space, but it's more expensive. But if you're not worried about size, then you go with ESRAM. So they're both the same principle. Now, with Sony's PlayStation 1, the first model, it was going to have 8 gigabytes of GDR5, but on a 128-bit bus, which means the bandwidth will be 88 gigabytes, vice what we have now, 176 gigabytes, okay, or gigabits, okay. But it will have the EDRAM, 128 megabits, at a theoretical max output of 1 terabyte. That's what they were going for, 1 terabyte of bandwidth on that EDRAM, all right? And they thought that was going to be the shit, to have 1 terabyte of max output on that bandwidth. And then they designed the second one, which is what we know now. No EDRAM, just 8 gigabits of GDR5 on a 256 bus, making 176 gigabits of bandwidth. They presented both consoles, according to Mark Cerny, they presented both consoles to some of the top developers in the industry. So you imagine developers are part of Activision, EA, Ubisoft, Capcom, all the bigwigs. So you figure that's what's going on, right? To their surprise, to Sony's surprise, all the developers went with what the console we want now. They did not want the EDRAM. They did not care about the 1 terabyte of theoretical max output or bandwidth. They didn't care about that. So Sony went with the console we want now based on all the developers what they wanted. Okay? So the whole point of this is Sony will design two consoles and see which is the best one to go with. So it's not far-fetched that they might be two Neos and they're doing the same thing, which is the better one to go with based on the architecture and design. I would say the big stopping point, not so much stopping point, but the big critical decision is going to be price. The 4.2 teraflop supposedly, allegedly, would be released at $399. But the 5.5 teraflop would be $499, $500. So I think that's weighing in on Sony's decision, which is the one that would be most accessible to gamers. $399 or $499? Pretty much $400 or $500. My opinion, they should release the 5.5 teraflops because they're going to keep the PlayStation 4 anyway. So for the conscious-minded gamers that are concerned about being able to afford a gaming platform, they could buy the PlayStation 4 for $299, when Sony drops the price, okay? But for those who want the higher-end experience, for those who choose to put more money and get the most, they got the $499 PlayStation 4K, let's call it, So it just makes more sense to have a $499 model and a $299 model. Pretty much a $500 model and a $300 model. Huge difference, a huge gap, because of 400 and 300, that gap is too small, But with 5.5, that's a significant, strength and power, and it actually shows a premium console, and then you got the standard console. So that makes more sense, With Scorpio releasing next year, and it's going to be a beast at 6 teraflops, Sony's advantage is to go with 5.5 and launch it earlier, Put it ahead of Scorpio. Grab the early crowd. Because let's say if you have a crowd of gamers out there that want a more powerful console, you have to look at it. Is it worth waiting 6 months, 8 months for an extra 0.5 teraflops? That's the challenge. That's what you will put gamers in a position. Is it worth waiting a whole year? Let's say if Sony launches the Neo October or November. Let's say November. Do gamers want to wait a whole year for the Scorpio? Obviously the Xbox fans will, but we're talking about the guys who could go either way. Are they going to wait a whole year just for 0.5 teraflops? That's a challenge, and that's the key right there. So I would say go for the Virgin B, push it out there, and get it ahead of the Scorpio. Grab that crowd that wants that power, that can't wait for that power. I don't think a lot of gamers will wait just for 0.5. The Xbox crowd will, because the games is part of the equation, The platform, the ecosystem of Xbox has the games that they want to play. They want to see Halo in 6 teraflops. They want to see Gears of War. They want to see Forza. They want to see the games that Microsoft pushes that's on the platform. They want to see that, okay? Same thing with the PlayStation gamers. They don't care if Scorpio has 6 teraflops. If they can't play God of War in 6 teraflops, then it doesn't matter to them. The power doesn't mean anything, to them. So everybody's going to want their games in the most powerful platform. But you got the crowd that don't really care. They don't care about Halo. They don't care about God of War. They just care about games and seeing the games that they like, most of them multi-plats, on a powerful platform. And if you could push out 5.5 sooner, a year ahead, most of them are not going to wait just for 0.5 teraflops. They're just going to say, you know what? Neo is out now. It's 5.5 teraflops. I'll get it, and then I'll be able to play some amazing games and stuff like that. So I would think that would be Sony's advantage is this, right? Don't know when it's going to come out. Obviously, we all know it didn't come out. They didn't mention anything in E3. Hopefully, it'll come out in Gamescom. According to that rumor with the two hardware, Sony's deciding either launching this year or March 2017. The way I see it, if they don't announce it at Gamescom, which is coming in August, they are not going to announce it at Tokyo Game Show. That just doesn't make sense. So it's either Gamescom or we're going to see it in March 2017. And if it's a March 2017 launch, chances are they're going to do it at the PlayStation Experience, which they hold every December. So that's pretty much it. So it's either Gamescom or bust. If you don't see it at Gamescom, then it's not coming out this year. They're going to leave the PlayStation VR as a primary hardware to sell for the winter. Then probably in December, they announce Neo, and then launch in March 2017. Right? But that's my opinion. Let me know what's yours. Tell me what you think. Would you get a PlayStation Neo 5.5 teraflops, now, and not wait a year for whatchamacallit, the Scorpio. So let me know. Tell me what you think. Subscribe. Thank you for the support, and I appreciate it.